The story begins 100 years ago. At that time, if a woman was even suspected of practicing black magic, she was captured by witch hunters and publicly executed. The executions were justified using religious texts. Women who were caught doing minor magic would beg for forgiveness, admitting their guilt. However, one witch, blind in one eye, refused to repent. Instead, she cursed the man who condemned her, telling him he would suffer in hell. But her curse had no effect on him. He ordered that 3 witches be hanged from a bridge. After their execution, the soldiers began to leave. But a priest warned that the bodies of the witches would rise again, as foretold in the Holy Book. He said they needed to be properly buried with rituals to ensure they never returned. One soldier laughed it off, saying the witches were dead and wouldn't come back. Still, the priest was worried, and went to the bridge to carry out the rites. He began reciting protective chants, but strange things happened. One of the witches' bodies started to shake violently, and another, the most powerful, began to rise, pulling the priest toward her with supernatural force. Just before she could drag him into the water, the priest struck her with a holy weapon. He fled to find the sacred chants in his book to stop her, but the witch used her demonic powers to leap into the water, burn the book, and kill the priest, just as he had done to them. The story then jumps forward several years to a time of war. A brave warrior named Bayman and his comrade Felson were fighting in a large battle, competing with each other to kill more enemies. They were fearless and deeply devoted to God, fighting in his name regardless of weather or danger. Over the years, they won many battles. One day, they attacked a city. But Bayman soon realized they had been misled. The people they killed were innocent civilians. He was horrified to see that his army had massacred women and children. The next morning, a messenger from the church summoned Bayman to answer for his crimes. When told that all this was done by God's will, Bayman questioned whether it was truly God behind these orders. After a brief argument, Bayman quietly left with his friend Felson, realizing he couldn't turn in the man sent by the church. He declared that he would no longer serve them. A month later, while searching for shelter, the two stumbled into a house, only to find a couple lying dead in bed, their bodies covered in boils and sores. It was clear they had fallen victim to the same deadly disease. Bayman and Felson burned the house to stop the spread. Soon after, they spotted a nearby town swarming with hundreds of crows. While Bayman wanted to search for water, Felson had a bad feeling about the place. Still, out of desperation, they entered. There they found people praying to God, begging to be freed from what they believed was a curse. Confused, the warriors met a soldier named Johann, who explained that a demonic plague had spread across the land, and there was no cure. As Bayman entered a local shop, his sword accidentally fell near a child. The shopkeeper noticed strange markings on the blade and, panicked, tried to escape. But before he could, soldiers surrounded them. Archers stood above, aiming at them. Realizing resistance was futile, Bayman and Felson surrendered and were taken prisoner. Just then, a man named Debelzak, who worked for the church, stopped the soldiers. He examined the markings on Bayman's sword, then led them to another room where a high-ranking priest explained the truth. The plague was a curse from hell, and the only hope lay in a monastery that held the last surviving copy of Solomon's book. This book contained sacred spells that could defeat the darkness. When asked for their help, Bayman refused, saying he no longer worked for the church. The priest explained that all the church's soldiers had already been infected. They wanted Bayman and Felson to escort the girl accused of witchcraft to the monastery. Father Debelzak and soldier Johann would join them. Bayman still refused, knowing that refusing might land them in prison. Eventually, they were shown the alleged witch. At first, Bayman didn't even look at her, but Felson joked about the church's desperation. Later that night, Bayman was woken by the girl's crying. Seeing her suffering softened his heart, and he changed his mind. He agreed to the church's request. As they began planning their journey to the monastery, Johann warned them that no one who entered the forest ever returned. Bayman asked if anyone had even been to the monastery before. Debelzak said one man, Hagamar, knew the way, but he was imprisoned for fraud. Bayman agreed to free and pardon him if he helped them reach the monastery. Hagamar quickly accepted. The priest had mixed sleeping powder into the girl's dinner, planning to move her while she was unconscious, but when they approached her, she suddenly attacked. Bayman and Felson managed to restrain her with their swords and knocked her out. She was locked in a cage, and their journey to the monastery began. Along the way, the lead priest died in his room. Suspicious, Johann questioned Debelzak about the girl. Was she truly a witch? What proof did they have? Debelzak admitted that she had arrived in the city alone, and within 15 days the plague had spread. Similar reports had come from other cities as well. While traveling, Johann questioned the priest, saying, "If this girl was never seen in my village, then how did the plague spread there?" This raised doubts in Bayman and Felson's minds. They suspected someone was secretly following them. To investigate, they set a trap. Soon, a young boy was caught. He introduced himself and said he wanted to become a warrior like Bayman. He asked to join their group going to the monastery. Seeing his innocence, they allowed him to come along. The boy then challenged Felson to a fencing match. Though Felson was an expert swordsman, he accepted to teach the boy a lesson. During the match, Felson easily defeated him, crushing his pride. Bayman interrupted midway, saying the boy had been through enough already. Later, as the sun set and the group prepared camp, the accused girl came to deliver food. During their conversation, Bayman confronted her, asking if she was the one who had cursed the priest earlier by whistling. The girl nervously said she didn't want to die. Her frightened eyes told a deeper story. She explained that in her village, she was wrongly accused of being a witch. Even after being declared innocent, she was thrown into a fire. She begged for a chance to prove her innocence, and Bayman promised her that no one would suffer a cruel death under his watch. That night, they kept strict watch over the girl. Johann took the first turn, but the priest came by and told him he would handle the watch instead. As Johann left, the girl began to cry. Seeing her all alone and in distress, Johann approached her. But just as he tried to comfort her, she suddenly handed the priest's cross to him, implying something had happened. Hearing the commotion, Bayman rushed to the scene. Meanwhile, he had been chasing a figure through a foggy village. At first he thought it was a woman running, but when he reached her, she vanished. Then he saw another figure darting in a different direction. He followed through a narrow path and stumbled into a pit full of corpses. Elsewhere, Johann began to hear the voice of his dead daughter. Overwhelmed and confused, he followed the voice into the forest. Bayman tried to wake him, but Johann was hallucinating and believed his daughter was calling to him. In a trance-like state, Johann stabbed himself in the chest. When the others arrived, they found Johann fatally wounded. He told them what had happened before dying. The witch girl was found nearby, still trying to escape. Trembling with fear, she begged them not to take her to the monastery, insisting they would kill her and blame her for everything. The next morning, after praying for Johann's soul, Debelzak told Bayman that they had lost a good man because of the witch. He warned that the witch could hear everything and would try to exploit their weaknesses. Bayman noticed the priest watching the girl with a strange smile, as if sensing something unusual. Their journey continued, and they eventually came across an old, crumbling bridge. It looked so fragile that even the bravest among them hesitated to cross. Still, Bayman was the first to go across and instructed the others to follow one by one. Last in line was the cart carrying the girl. As the cart began to tip and nearly fell, the witch girl suddenly grabbed Bayman's wrist and pulled him up with surprising strength, far more than a normal girl should have. Just then, the bridge collapsed behind them, leaving no way back. A thick mist settled over the forest, making it hard to see. Bayman, realizing something wasn't right, whispered, "This mist, it's not natural." Hagamar was ready to kill the girl, convinced she was a witch. He believed that as long as she lived, no one would survive. But Bayman and Felson stopped him. Just then, wolves started howling nearby. A large pack emerged from the forest and surrounded them. Bayman immediately ordered everyone to fight. As they struggled to fend off the wolves, Hagamar was suddenly attacked and dragged down by one of them. The wolves tore him apart. He never stood a chance. The next morning, Benny tried to kill the girl to end everything, but Bayman stopped him. Felson calmed the situation, reminding them they were close to the monastery and just needed a little more patience. Eventually, the group reached a hidden entrance to the monastery. As they stepped inside, the priest led them toward the chapel, expecting to find other priests. But the plague had already reached the monastery. Everyone inside was dead. The sight broke Debelzak's spirit. Just then, they noticed one priest barely alive, pointing to the sacred book. As he uttered the name of God, he passed away. Debelzak picked up the book, and Bayman asked if he could recite the necessary spells. Before he could begin, the girl revealed her true identity. She declared that for centuries the church had wronged her people, and now it was time for vengeance. As Debelzak started chanting, wounds opened on his hands from the book's power. Bayman tried to stop him, but the girl continued speaking, revealing knowledge no ordinary person could know. It became clear she wasn't just a witch, she was demon in disguise. As Debelzak read the spell again, the girl transformed into a horrifying demonic creature. The metal bars around her melted from the heat she emitted. The demon was now free and no one could stop it. Debelzak tried to use holy water, but the demon now had wings and escaped into the dark corners of the monastery. Realizing what they were up against, the group formed a plan. Bayman, though told he didn't have to fight, declared that he would battle to the death. The four of them set out to find Demon. They wondered why he waited to be taken to the monastery instead of attacking earlier. Along the way, they saw corpses everywhere. Dark, winged creatures emerged from black clouds. One of the dead priests was spotted, and de Belzac noticed that before dying, the monks were making handwritten copies of Solomon's book, an attempt to preserve the sacred words. It became clear, Demon had disguised himself as a witch to get close to those who had access to the book. That's how he reached the monastery. Inside the library, they found the girl had fully transformed into a monstrous demon. As de Belzac began reciting the holy chants, the demon attacked and destroyed all the book copies. Corpses of the priests vanished into darkness, and now they were rising again, possessed by evil. The group was surrounded by undead priests. De Belzac was nearly killed. The others fought desperately, trying to protect him while he continued the chant. A priest attacked Felsen from behind. He managed to kill it, but was injured himself. Meanwhile, no one was left to guard de Belzac. As he reached for the book, Satan swooped in and slashed his neck, killing him instantly. As the demon tried to destroy the book, someone threw holy water on it. Enraged, Satan lifted the warrior and threatened to erase every word written in the book. Felsen tried to attack Demon from behind, but the demon struck him with his wings, turning him to ash. Bayman then grabbed Demon and slammed him against the wall. He drove the demon's wings into the stone, pinning him down so he couldn't move. Bayman continued reciting the final prayers as the demon burned in flames. Eventually, the demon's spirit was destroyed, and the girl's body was freed. She was innocent after all. The evil had merely used her as a vessel, but Bayman was fatally wounded in the process. He realized he would not survive, but took solace in knowing the girl was never truly evil. She thanked all the warriors for their sacrifice. In the end, as the dust settled,